Hello. It is quite possible in our culture to go cradle to grave without a single formal hour in any of our institutions, be it in parenting, kindergarten, middle school, high school, college, the work environment, a hospital. We can go cradle to grave in our culture without a single hour of competent emotional literacy. And the need for emotional literacy stems from an obvious fact, which is that every single action, every single thought is motivated, is put into motion by a feeling. Could be fear, could be joy, could be hope, could be remembered fear, fear in the past, not wanting to repeat in the future. But much like they've shown that children who have no nerves and no ability to feel pain take no effort at all to prevent bleeding to death and accidents because there's no teacher. Parents of children who lack nerves are frantic because their child can die in 20 minutes and the child gets no message about what's going on. Well, people who overload their feelings through trauma and dissociation also can go completely numb, can put themselves through tremendously abusive relationships, can hurt their hearts, and not have a clue what to do about it. And so if all human behavior in the history of the species arises out of an emotional impulse, and none of us are being educated at a level of competency that would ensure that the average person can reliably use those feelings to increase their own sustainable well-being and those of other people. It's a pretty glaring omission. Feelings are linked with a variety of associations. The way the brain works is if you have an overwhelming grief, for example, while you learned your mom died, while you're out laying in the grass in a new cut lawn, the brain links the smell of new cut lawn with the most intense emotion of your life. And having made that link physiologically, one can have a reaction to new cut lawn, someone with blonde hair that reminded you of someone else, a stern energy that seems to be the same as the energy of your father. And because all of our memories and all of our lives are different, we have a different flavor in our experience of feelings. Some of us have learned that as soon as we start to feel certain feelings and express them, we will be hit. We will be praised. We will be told not to talk about that. Others of us have completely different experiences around these feelings. So in order to create media that touches a wide number of people and speaks to each of us, we need to draw on the diversity of all of these different associations and all of these different memories And because of that, the more people who participate in any form, the richer our understanding will be of each human state, of each human feeling. Studies of the process of learning have revealed that some people learn most by speaking, some people learn most by listening, some people learn most by doing the thing they're trying to learn. Some people learn most by reading, and some people learn most by writing. Now, in an institutional study, these were the only methods available. But the bottom line is that every person has a doorway through which it is easier for them to digest information, and they have other doorways that they don't get the message if the information travels through those doorways. Thus, the need for a multi-dimensional, multifaceted communication to be truly effective at touching and teaching the most number of people. That's why in the Emotional States Project, the only requirement is that if you're making a contribution, it has to either be audible, meaning someone has to be able to hear it, or someone has to be able to see it. It's an audio-visual medium. And so if you sculpt an emotion and film it, then someone can see it. If you write text and film the text, someone can see it. If you speak, if you make sound, if you dance, if you move, everyone has an artistic expression that resonates for them. And that correlates in the diversity of human beings with everyone having a type of expression that they can get it, that they get the message of the feeling being conveyed. They understand it more when it's delivered in that way. So this project is open to all forms of creative and artistic expression. Wikipedia and YouTube have exploded the amount of human knowledge that is available all around the world, and in doing so is playing a huge role in human education. I can have a gas stove in my kitchen burn out, and the stove is 50 years old, they're not making them. I don't know how to light this stove again. But I can go on to YouTube and say Wedgwood stove pilot light out, and somewhere in the world has had that problem and filmed the solution. And so rather than not being able to bake bread for a few days, I've got gas in a matter of minutes. And this is the power of collaborative crowdsourcing. And for that reason, this project is 100% voluntary to anyone, anywhere around the world. You know, if someone in China can translate the word fear into Chinese and wants to dance fear, so much the better. We benefit from open sourcing in part because everyone has their own ideas. Everyone has their own version. And each version has value. So when you open source something, you lose control. Anyone can improve or edit or modify and produce a parallel. My view is that the more parallels, the better. If there's 30 different videos made all on the subject of fear, and some people relate more to one person's graphical style or one person's tone, or the length of the video more than another, and they learn about fear through that, as long as they come away knowing just a little bit more of the complexity of the many forces that drive all human evolution, all change, all activity, so much the better. In order to facilitate open source creativity, anyone who creates something for this project, including myself, grants the right to anyone else on the planet to edit, mix, add music, change sound, cut speed, add in elements, annotate, animate, and redistribute the information, as long as it's redistributed freely for everyone to enjoy. I started this project because at age 45, after therapy, going through school, running a business, I realized there were still things that I didn't understand about my own and other people's feelings. And I've read books on emotional intelligence, and other books on trauma, and other books on love, and other books on fear. But there's really no mixed media presentation anywhere that I know of to learn about all the human feelings from a variety of perspectives. And so I decided to create this project, and anyone who participates can upload a video. And I've created a YouTube channel that's strictly non-commercial and for public education that will be dedicated to sharing your creation in any format that brings light to a specific emotion. This is a human project, and although there are teenagers struggling with emotions, writing poetry, wanting to be heard, all around the world. When I was a teenager, I wrote 5,000 poems, many of them trying to grapple with certain feelings and states. The question is how to reach the people that want to learn and want to speak and want to be heard. And I don't have that answer other than to put this message out to teachers and art schools. But I ask you, in order to keep this really important human endeavor growing and spreading, to hold the torch and pass it on by forwarding this video to at least 3 people. Age is irrelevant, language irrelevant, discipline irrelevant, competency. If you have a way that you want to speak in language, in dance, and sound, and movement, in facial expressions, in drawing and painting, every single human being in the history of the planet has feelings, and they see them in a different way. And what they do is unique. And this project is not about trying to be professional. It's about trying to be human. So please pass this on to at least 3 people. You do not have to be perfect. I think that the imperfection with which we all express ourselves in one way or another speaks to the very fact that we are an emotionally illiterate culture. meaning we will study algebra or the dates that bridges were constructed or the list of presidents or premiers more than we will study our own feelings. And so, of course, we're not experts. But the very confusion, the very muddle, is itself important to express and understand. A diary about the confusion and what comes up, trying to create something to share with others, is valuable in revealing just how difficult it is to speak in a language that parents, teachers, churches, employers, friends have very different relationships to, and almost never sit down and take the time to explain them to us. So don't worry about being perfect. None of us are. My role in this project at Human States is to sponsor it through a nonprofit that I formed called Happiness Data. Feel free to check it out, happinessdata.org. And what I look for in this nonprofit is how to generate the most amount of human well-being with the least amount of effort. A crowdsourced resource for anyone who wants it about human emotions that will be available for the next 20 years to spark awareness, to spark education, fits that criteria for me. So hence the idea. And I will participate in spreading and sharing it much more than just the 3 people I'm asking you to. Other than that, I'm fascinated. I will enjoy your creation. I will learn from your experience. And anytime I have anything to share, I will contribute that, just like anyone else, and you're free to edit and delete and change and add to any of my contributions, just like anyone else. And I want to thank you for your interest in this project.